Today we discuss about the Marxian theory of business cycle. അത് നമ്മുടെ ഹെറ്ററോഡോക്സ് എക്കണോമിക്സിലുള്ള ഒരു ടോപ്പിക്കാണ് Marxian theories of business cycle. Classical political economy discussion of crisis can be seen as the impetus for theory of economic fluctuation. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്കറിയാം ക്ലാസിക്കൽ പൊളിറ്റിക്കൽ ഇക്കോണമിയിൽ മെയിനായിട്ട് ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന തിയറീസ് ആണ് എക്കണോമിക് ഫ്ലക്ച്വേഷൻ റിലേറ്റഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള തിയറീസ്. അതിൽ ഡേവിഡ് റിക്കാർഡോ അതുപോലെ തന്നെ റോബർട്ട് മാത്യൂസ് ഇവരൊക്കെ ജനറൽ ഗ്ലട്ട് എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ഒരു പോസിബിലിറ്റിയെ കുറിച്ച് ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്ത ഇക്കോണമിസ്റ്റുകളാണ് ഡേവിഡ് റിക്കാർഡോയും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ റോബർട്ട് മാത്യൂസും. The Ricardian view was that in the long run a generalized overproduction crisis could not occur. Ricardian വ്യൂവിൽ നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞു ഡേവിഡ് റിക്കാർഡോയും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ മാത്യൂസും ഒക്കെ പോസിബിലിറ്റി ഓഫ് ഗ്ലട്ടിനെ ഫേവർ ചെയ്യുന്ന ഇക്കോണമിസ്റ്റുകളാണ്. അതിനുള്ളൊരു പോസിബിലിറ്റി എക്സ്പെക്ട് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഇക്കോണമിസ്റ്റുകളാണ്. പക്ഷേ അതിൽ റിക്കാർഡിയൻ വ്യൂ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ലോങ് റണ്ണിൽ ഈ പറയുന്ന ഗ്ലട്ടിനുള്ള ചാൻസുകൾ വളരെ കുറവാണ്. അതായത് ഓവർ പ്രൊഡക്ഷൻ ക്രൈസിസ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് കുഡ് നോട്ട് ഒക്യൂർ ഇൻ ദ ലോങ് റൺ. അതാണ് റിക്കാർഡോന്റെ വ്യൂ. സിൻസ് സപ്ലൈ ക്രിയേറ്റഡ് ഇറ്റ്സ് ഓൺ ഡിമാൻഡ്. കാരണം നമ്മുടെ ക്ലാസിക്കൽ വ്യൂവിൽ നമ്മൾ പറയുന്നുണ്ട് സപ്ലൈ ക്രിയേറ്റ്സ് ഇറ്റ്സ് ഓൺ ഡിമാൻഡ്. അതിന്റെ ഡിമാൻഡ് എന്താണ്, എത്ര ഡിമാൻഡ് വേണം എന്നുള്ളതിന്റെ സപ്ലൈ തന്നെ ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ എത്ര പ്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട് അതെല്ലാം ഡിമാൻഡ് ചെയ്യപ്പെടും എന്നുള്ള ഒരു എക്സ്പെക്ടേഷൻ ആണ് ലോങ് റണ്ണിൽ. ഫോർ റിക്കാർഡോ ദിസ് ബേസിക്കലി മെന്റ് ദാറ്റ് ജനറലി പ്രൊഡക്ഷൻ റിസൾട്ടഡ് ഫ്രം ദ ഡിസയർ ടു കൺസ്യൂം. റിക്കാർഡോന്റെ ഒരു ബേസിക് വ്യൂ എന്താണെന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ജനറലി പ്രൊഡക്ഷൻ റിസൾട്ടഡ് ഫ്രം, പ്രൊഡക്ഷൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഡിസയർ ടു കൺസ്യൂമിൽ നിന്നാണ് പ്രൊഡക്ഷൻ ഉണ്ടാവുന്നത്. അത് കൺസ്യൂം ചെയ്യണം എന്നുള്ള ഡിസയർ ആണ് പ്രൊഡക്ഷനിലേക്ക് ലീഡ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. In other words, supply by definition was a result of demand. Supply എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് is a result of demand. For Ricardo, while crisis could occur in the short run, Ricardo's opinion crisis could occur only in short run. It's not in long run. In the long run, supply creates its own demand. There is no possibility of overproduction or glut, market glut. Since some products would not meet demand. In the short run, some products would not meet demand and some products meet the demand. There is no possibility of glut in the long run, but in the short run, there is a possibility of a glut in case of some products. In the long run, producers would learn from their mistakes. According to Ricardo, there is no possibility of market glut or overproduction in the long run. He argued that in the long run, the producers have a lot of opportunity to understand the mistakes happened in the market conditions, and for that way, the producer produced goods, which type of goods that be demand more or people decide to consume more, and they try to produce that particular good to market conditions, or to face the market conditions. That would provide them with the purchasing power to fulfill their own consumption desires. All the products are not satisfy the consumption desires in the short period. Ricardo suggested that nobody would continue to produce something for which there is no demand over in the long run. Most of the producers are not ready to produce the product if they have already no demand in the market. Note that while in Ricardo's view, capitalists reinvested all their savings. Ricardo view about the reinvestment of the capitalist is that the capitalists reinvested all their savings. Their savings are reinvested. All their savings are reinvested, and the capital was fully utilized. All their savings are reinvested, and their capital was fully utilized. The same was not true for labor. The level of output was fixed in this classical model. In the classical model, the level of output was fixed. Marx was critical of Say's law. Marx was the critical of Say's law, and for that, what is Say's law? Say's law is supply creates on demand. It's criticized by Marx, and for that, the reason is probably the first relevant author to discuss the possibility of recurring crisis as an inherent feature of capitalist society. One of the inherent feature of capitalist society was that the possibility of recurring crisis. The Ricardian view is grounded in what Marx referred to as the simplest form of the circulation of commodities. Marx explained, or Marx referred the simplest form of circulation of commodity, or simple exchange, where commodities were produced for exchange for commodities. That is a simple exchange system where commodities were produced for exchange for commodities, with money being just as an intermediary. CMC, commodity, money, new commodity. Commodities exchange for new commodities. In this case, Say's law was operative, since it was true that production occurred as a result of desire to consume. The Say's law was the same aspect. It is true that production occurred as a result of desire to consume. Marx suggested that in capitalist societies, accumulation and not consumption is the basis of material production. Marx suggested that in a capitalist society, accumulation is very important. It's not consumption. The basis of production or the material basis of production is that accumulation. It is not consumption. In other words, capitalists produce to accumulate profit in monetary terms. Capitalists produce to accumulate profit. That was their aim, to accumulation of profit in monetary terms. Their system was money, commodity, money. While Say's law would be valid in a simple reproduction system, Say's law valid in simple reproduction system, it would be invalid in a capitalist economy. Say's law would be valid in simple reproduction system, it would be invalid in capitalist economy. By the middle of the 19th century, there was a more widespread understanding that economic crises are periodical in industrialized economy. In the end of the 19th century, there was a widespread understanding. The economic crisis was not a irregular thing. It was happened as a periodical. It was happened in periodical in industrialized economy. Several scholars criticized Say's law, most notably Malthus, Sismondi, and Rodbertus. This criticism developed into what is sometimes referred to as underconsumptionist theories of crisis. The most famous of the underconsumption theory was that of John Hobson, an anti-imperialist British economist who argued that as the process of accumulation accelerated and profit became concentrated in fewer hands. That means that several scholars criticized Say's law, most notably Malthus, Sismondi, and Rodbertus. This criticism developed into what sometimes referred to as underconsumption theories of crisis. They criticized the idea of underconsumption theories. The most famous of underconsumption theories was developed by John Hodgson. He is an anti-imperialist British economist. He argued that process of accumulation accelerated. Process of accumulation is accelerated and profits become concentrated in few hands. Marxian theories of business cycle have a common thread. What is the common thread? That is, the role of rate of profit is the main variable to understand fluctuation. Rate of profit is the main variable to understand fluctuation. Profit squeeze theories, which became popular in 1960s, suggest that booms, the reserve army of unemployed shrinks. During the boom period, reserve army of unemployed shrinks. The bargaining power of workers will increase. The workers' bargaining power will increase. The higher wages will tend to squeeze the profit of capitalists. The higher wage reduce the profit of the capitalist, who will refrain from investing as a result. The crisis that ensue will also contain the seed of the recovery, since as higher unemployment reduces the bargaining power of the labor force. Higher unemployment rate reduces the bargaining power of labor force. Wage will tend to fall behind and the profit rate will recover, leading to a renewed process of accumulation. Rate of wage will fall. The main difference between alternative Marx explanation of business cycle fluctuation is the mechanism by which rate of profit change over time. The fluctuations of the profit rate that are central to the explanation of cycle that are also intrinsically connected to the process of economic accumulation and growth. The Goodwin model provides an example of cyclical growth. Goodwin provides an example of cyclical growth, that is, the notion that the process of economic growth is highly unstable. that the fluctuation of the economic activity are intrinsically connected to the process of capital accumulation. The economic activity fluctuates only through the changes in the capital accumulation process and growth. In Goodwin model, investment is a function of profit. In his model, investment is a function of profit, and in a booming economy with the profit increasing, capital accumulate, output, employment, everything is increased. In Goodwin model, investment is a function of profit. Economy under the condition of boom or prosperity, the profit increasing, the capital accumulate, then output increasing, employment will also increase. As employment increases, the economy moves towards full employment, and the share of wage in total income increases. The share of wage in the total income, wage rate is the major component of total income. Share of wage in total income increases, reducing the share of profit, and eventually has a negative impact on investment and employment. As profit fall, investment is reduced. When the profit rate is fall, investment is reduced, output decline, employment also decline. Yet as unemployment increases, wage pressure diminish, and the whole cycle starts anew. The wage share acts as a predator, preying on profit. Wage share increasing, the profit rate decrease. Wage and profit are the major two components of income. Okay, the one component, the wage increase, the profit will become the predator. Central to Goodwin argument is that saving out of profit determine investment. Saving out of profit determine investment. In classical political economy fashion, all wages are consumed. In classical economy, they believe that all wages are consumed, while profits are saved, and it is used for further investment. Additionally, employment grows with output. In turn, it follows investment. Employment growth with the capital accumulation adjusted by increase in labor productivity. Employment growth with capital accumulation. Growth with the capital accumulation adjusted by increase in labor productivity. It will improve the labor productivity and the growth of labor force. Employment is directly related to profit. Employment is directly related to profit, and it is inversely related to wage share. It's very important. Employment is directly related to profit and is inversely related to wage share. In Goodwin view, real wage increase in the proximity of full employment, which would be seen as the upper limit of the cycle. Real wage increase and the full employment, the growth of full employment, it is the upper limit, that is the condition of prosperity of both. Goodwin model represents a hybrid of Marxian and neoclassical views. It is a mix of that means the hybrid or the mix of Marxian and neoclassical views, or what might be termed as Marxian marginalist theory of business cycle. It is important to emphasize the political economy views of the cycle generally tend to assume that investment behavior driven by the rate of profit. The rate of profit is determining the investment behavior. It is the essential driving force of economic cycle. Investment is profit-led. In other words, the firms increase or decrease the capacity utilization on the basis of the rate of profit. The rate of profit determines the capacity utilization of the firm. It is further going on, or this be going ups and downs has been determined by the rate of profit or the capacity utilization of the firm or the return to investment. However, many modern Marxian models assume that this is the actual rate of profit, while for classical political economy, investment was related to normal rate of profit. Okay, the Marxian model assumed that actual rate of profit. They assume that the actual rate of profit determines the level of investment. In the classical political economy, the normal rate of profit is related to economic investment or investment of the economy. Okay.